Now, another experience, I was fighting an election in the general election in Britain in 1992, and I was contesting a seat in East London, and the campaign was being organized by my campaign manager, agent as we call them there, and he said, there's one local lady you must meet. She's a kind of matriarch in this street. If you get her on your side, you'll win the whole street. It could be, get her vote, it could be worth 200 more votes. So she's a very important lady. She has a lot of influence on the local community. So I went along to this lady's house. I was half expecting to see some sort of big domineering butch type, you know. But no, there's a very gentle, sweet old lady. She just looked as if she wouldn't harm a fly. And so I explained our policy to her on immigration and repatriation. And she said, in the way that London East Enders say, "Well, love," she said, "yeah, that's all very well, but you know what I think? I think we need someone like Hitler." That's what I think. See, this is an example. I'm sure there are a lot of people out there in Middle America who you think they're wimpy liberals and wishy-washy, politically correct types of people, but they are not. Now, I'm never suggesting that we say anything like this lady said to me, or that we say what the building worker said to me, but we should never underestimate the public. They are not as soft as many think, but they are influenced by the fact that we do not have power. And showing a little bit of power is what is going to win them over in their millions. And we made a start in Britain. We've got 17 council seats. David Duke has made a start here in the United States by his brilliant performance in the Louisiana elections a little while ago. Now, to wind up, I might quote the words of a Chinese sage who used to say to people, "May you live in interesting times." And we most certainly do live in very interesting times. We live in a time when history can be made. In fact, history screams out to be made by the action of people like us. We look out there among the general public, the brainwashed boobies and their millions. Sam so perfectly described. Sam, I'll expect 2 or 3 drinks this evening after all this. But, very interesting times. All these people who've been ruled by the liberal consensus, the consensus of produce and consume. People that are going nowhere. In healthy times, great nations are conscious of their past, and they're conscious of their duty to pass on what has been won by those in the past to those in the future. The broad mass of public in Britain, and I suspect in America today, are enslaved by this live for the moment, produce and consume society. A people that is going nowhere. A great many of them think that way. An awful lot of unhappy people. Again, another drink here, Sam. Again, he put it so well. He talked about the joy of participation in our struggle. And I can underline that 100 times over. We are the happy people. We're not as wealthy as them, many of them. We're perhaps not as secure. We may not have the 2 cars in the driveway. We may not have all the luxuries that they have. But we have a deep exhilaration and having a meaning to our lives. Each and every one of us, even if our contribution, whether it is large or small, we are living. They are suffering a living death, those masses out there. But but they're not irretrievable. Because we can bring them, by our example, into the ranks of the living with us. And we can give them a purpose to their lives which they have lost due to the utter lack of leadership they've had from their politicians for so long. These people, these neurotic, unhappy people who are constantly seeing shrinks every week, what kind of lives do they lead? The people who are hooked on drugs, the people who, you could go on and on and on. They're unhappy people out there, and they want a rescue. They want a hand that will stretch out to them to rescue them from their meaningless lives and join something that means something, that is going somewhere, and provides them something that they have lacked for so long, a sense of pride and identity as white Americans, as white Britons, white Germans, French, and so on. I'm one of the older ones here today, but I can say to the younger ones present, if you want a life of meaning and of joy, there is nothing better than becoming an activist in the struggle for your race. We can't all be full-time activists like I am, but being an activist in your spare time can give you that meaning to your life, and you will never regret it. And I have never regretted 1 second of the time I've spent in this struggle. Though I've been beaten up, as David Dew said, I've been to jail 3 times. I'm conscious of time, so I won't describe the other 2 occasions because there are other people waiting to speak. But I've been to jail 3 times. I have been beaten up, and the worst thing of all, was with my wife when I was attacked, and she was beaten up too. So we've been through these things, but it is all worthwhile. It is 1,000 times worthwhile. I would never have changed any of it. And it is the life that I recommend to you. So, I'm going to cut things short now. I'll just end up with a couple more sentences. Our people have a choice. We have taken that choice, but our nations have a choice. We're lucky to live at a time of great decision, of great destiny, such as befall all great nations at certain key points in their history. And we have, at that time of destiny, the choice of lying down and surrendering, of giving in, or we have the choice of staying and fighting. But we, one day, will be answerable to our grandchildren. And our grandchildren are going to say to us, when that great time of decision came, what did you do? Did you give in? Or did you fight? Are we going to say to them, well, the struggle was too severe. The odds were too strong. Perhaps we left it a bit too late. We hadn't a chance, and therefore we lost our country. We lost our nationhood. Or will we be able to say to them, with pride and honor, I was one of those who fought, and there were more and more who came and fought with me. I went out into the streets and worked and struggled for our cause. We stood firm like the men at the Alamo, like the men at Rorke's Drift, like the men at Blood River. We fought to the bitter end, and we won!